We build airplanes.
Okay. A classic example.
It's just a simple sentence, right?
Yeah.
3 words, subject, verb, object. You say it, I get it, we move on.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually stop and look at what just happened in your brain,
Yeah.
in that split second it took to generate that thought, it's absolute chaos.
I might call it controlled chaos, but yeah, it's a frenzy of activity.
Well, that's exactly what we're unpacking today. We're not looking at language as art or poetry. We're looking at the human mind as a rigid biological machine, a computer.
And to do that, we're tearing into Chapter 4 of Noam Chomsky's The Minimalist program.
This is a heady one.
Oh, it is. We're specifically zeroing in on interpretability and the principles of feature checking. And honestly, this text, it completely changes how you see every single word you speak.
It certainly changed how I see grammar.
Yeah.
Because the picture it paints is, well, it's a little disturbing.
It's disturbing. How so?
It suggests our brains are running this operating system that's obsessed with efficiency. The text calls it a perfect system, right?
Yeah.
Yet this same system seems designed to just generate massive amounts of garbage data.
Garbage data. That is a pretty harsh way to describe syntax.
But isn't that the core paradox here?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the source argues that a huge chunk of our grammar is made of features that have absolutely no meaning.
Right.
They're just bureaucracy. And the entire engine of syntax only exists to delete that bureaucracy before we're even allowed to speak.
That is the central conflict of the chapter. You've hit it right on the head. It is the battle between interpretable features,
The stuff that means something.
and uninterpretable features, which are purely mechanical. And the big question is, why does a supposedly perfect system include all this stuff that the mind can't even understand?
Okay, so let's pop the hood.
Yeah.
Let's strip this sentence down to its parts to see this junk code in action.
Let's do it.
Let's go back to my first sentence. We build airplanes.
Yeah.
When I look at that, I just see 3 words. But when the minimalist program looks at that, what does it see?
It doesn't see words. Not like we do. It sees bundles.
Bundles.
Right. In this framework, a word isn't some single solid atom. It's more like a molecule. And it's made up of smaller properties called features.
Yeah.
And the text makes a really critical distinction here between 2 types: intrinsic features and optional features.
Okay, let's break down the word we then.
Take we. It has what are called intrinsic features. These are properties that are, part of its fundamental definition in your mental dictionary.
So they're built in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We is always first person. It's always plural. You don't make a choice about that when you speak. It comes with the package.
Right. If it wasn't plural, it'd just be I.
Exactly. Now look at airplanes. That also has intrinsic features. It has the category noun. It has the feature human because, airplanes aren't people.
Built in. Got it.
But airplanes also has optional features.
Because I could have just said airplane. Singular.
Precisely. When you pulled that concept from your memory to build this specific sentence, you chose to add the feature plural. That's optional. It wasn't mandated by the word itself. It was mandated by what you wanted to say.
So far, this all sounds a bit like high school grammar. We've got person, number, gender. Linguists call these 5 features, right?
Correct. 5 features.
But this is where the source takes a sharp turn into the abstract. It says that the meaning processor in our brain, the logical form, or LF, filters these features.
Yes, and it discriminates based on utility. This is the principle of full interpretation.
Okay, what's that?
The text is very strict about it. The logical form, the LF, is the interface where syntax connects to thought. It's where the structure becomes meaning. And the rule is the LF cannot see anything that is not useful.
Useful for what, though?
Useful for interpretation, for, understanding the reality of the situation.
Okay, so let's apply that filter to airplanes.
Okay. The LF looks at airplanes. It sees noun. That tells the brain it's an object. That's useful. It sees plural. That tells the brain there's more than one. Also useful. These features are interpretable. The LF keeps them.
But what about the stuff it rejects? This is where we get to the garbage.
Think about the word we again. In we build airplanes, we is the subject. So in English grammar, because it's the subject, it carries a feature called nominative case.
Right, as opposed to us, which would be accusative.
But ask yourself this. Does nominative case actually mean anything in the real world? If I point to you, does your physical being change because you're a subject versus an object?
No, of course not. I'm the same person whether I see you or you see me. My case changes, but I don't.
Precisely. Case is purely grammatical. It's structural grace. The logical form to the meaning processor, case is just gibberish. It is uninterpretable.
And this is the danger zone the text keeps talking about.
It is. If that case feature reaches the logical form, the whole derivation crashes. The system basically says, I see data here that doesn't translate to a thought, and it just aborts the sentence.
So it's like trying to run a file format your computer doesn't recognize.
Exactly.
That is just, it's wild. We are programmed to attach these case tags to words. We force this junk data onto them, but if we don't delete it before the sentence is finished, the whole thing just fails.
That is the entire mechanism. The text argues that all the complexities of grammar, things moving around, rules of agreement, it's all just a massive cleanup operation.
Yeah, cleanup operation.
We're frantically trying to check and delete these uninterpretable features before they hit that LF interface.
So it's like a timed self-destruct sequence. You have to cut the red wire before the clock hits 0.
Or think of it like a security clearance checkpoint.
Right.
This brings us to checking theory.
Okay, and the text describes this as a last resort. Things don't move in a sentence because they want to.
They move because they have to. They must.
Right.
So let's look at we. Again, it has this sort of radioactive nominative case feature. It needs to get rid of it.
So it needs a place to dump it.
It looks up the syntax tree and sees a functional head, let's just call it tense, or T that has a matching checker. So we moves from where it started up to the subject position, specifically to meet tense.
They compare notes.
Yes, they compare features. Tense says, I check nominative. We says, I have nominative. Click. The feature is checked.
And once it's checked, it's just deleted.
This is where the source notes a really fascinating asymmetry, and this is key. If the feature is uninterpretable like case, it is deleted. It's erased from the computation. Gone.
But what about an interpretable feature? Like the fact that we is plural, tense has to check that too for agreement, right?
It does check it. We has to agree with the verb. But because plural is meaningful, remember, the logical form needs that information. That feature survives.
But it gets checked.
But it doesn't get erased.
So the meaningful stuff gets a pass and the meaningless stuff gets vaporized.
The system is ruthless. It keeps what it needs for the meaning and it destroys what was only needed for the structure.
Which leads to that concept in the chapter of being frozen in place.
Yes. Once we moves and checks its case, that case feature is gone. So we can no longer move to check case anywhere else. It's effectively frozen for that specific job. It's used its ticket.
It's just so efficient. Use the fuel, burn it, drop the tank.
And if you don't drop the tank, the whole thing crashes.
Okay, I want to stress test this. The text spends a lot of time on a very specific, weird thing in English that seems to break all the rules. The word there. As in, there is a book on the table.
The expletive there.
It sounds like a curse word, expletive.
In linguistics, it just means it's a placeholder, a word with no semantic content.
And the text calls it a pure expletive. How is that different from, say, it? Like in the sentence, it is raining.
That is a crucial distinction. It actually has features. It is singular. It is neuter. It has 5 features. So when you say it is raining, that it is doing some real work.
Okay.
But there is empty.
Completely empty.
Structurally, yeah. It has a category. It's a determiner D, but it has no person, no number, no gender. It is a hollow shell.
So why do we even use it? Why not just say a book is on the table?
We can, but sometimes we want to introduce a new topic or style just requires it. The problem is English has this rule called the EPP, the extended projection principle. Basically, the subject position must be filled. You can't leave the driver's seat empty.
So there is a professional seat filler.
That's a perfect way to put it. We just grab there from our mental dictionary to plug that hole. But this creates a massive headache for the checking system we just described.
Because there is empty.
Right. Think about the verb. The verb needs to agree with something. If I say there is a book versus there are books, the verb is changing.
Is versus are. Singular versus plural.
But there didn't change. There doesn't have a singular or plural setting. So how does the verb know what to do?
It must be looking past there.
It is. The text analyzes this as the associate relationship. There fills the slot, but the verb just scans down, looks right through that empty there, and finds the associate, the noun book or books.
So there is like a window, not a wall.
In a way. But the source points out something very specific about the mechanics here, what's called the free rider effect.
Okay.
Because there is a pure expletive and has no features, it cannot check the verb's features. It just leaves the verb hanging.
It fails to do its job.
It does the EPP job, filling the seat, but it fails the agreement job. And this forces the associate, the book, to undergo movement, conceptually at least, to connect with the verb.
So the book has to do the work.
The text argues that the associate eventually has to raise its features to the verb to get them checked off.
Because if it doesn't?
The features stay unchecked, they reach the logical form, and since they are uninterpretable,
The derivation clashes. It's just amazing how precarious this all feels. We're building these sentences millisecond by millisecond, and if one little feature fails to check, the whole thought just collapses.
it suggests that the perfection of language is actually a very fragile state. It's a high-wire act where the balance pole is made of syntax.
So let's talk about the laws governing this high-wire act. The text moves from checking to economy, the so-called laws of efficiency.
The minimalist program is obsessed with economy. The guiding principle is basically do as little as possible.
Lazy brain theory.
Effectively, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is formalized as the minimal link condition, or MLC.
Explain that.
The MLC says that if you need to move something to a target position, you must move the closest thing that can do the job. You can't skip over a closer candidate to grab one that's farther away.
And the text changes the metaphor here, right?
Yeah,
Stop saying move and start saying attract.
Yes, and that shift in perspective is really helpful. Don't think of the word climbing a ladder. Think of the target position. Let's say tense at the top of the sentence, acting like a magnet. It turns on, it sends out a signal, and it attracts the closest feature that fits its criteria.
Attract closest.
Right, and this explains why some sentences that feel like they should mean something are just syntactically illegal. The text uses the example of superraising.
Superraising. It sounds like a corporate promotion strategy or something.
It represents a violation of, well, syntactic physics.
The example from the text is, John seems that it was told.
John seems that it was told.
Yeah, my brain just, it hates that. I want to say, John seems to have been told, or it seems that John was told. But that other version feels totally broken.
It is broken. But let's look at why your brain hates it. Syntactically, you're trying to move John from the bottom of the structure where he was told something all the way to the top subject position.
Right.
But look what's in the middle.
It was told.
Yeah, now remember our magnet. The top of the sentence turns on its magnet to attract a subject. John is the one we want, but it is geometrically closer to the magnet.
But it is already busy. It's the subject of was told. It has a job.
Doesn't matter. This is what the text calls a defective intervention. It acts as a blockade. The magnet sees it first. And even though it can't really move up, its mere presence prevents the magnet from seeing John.
So John is just trapped down there.
John is stranded. The link to John would be too long because a shorter link, the one to it, already exists, and the minimal link condition forbids that long jump.
So the system would rather crash the entire sentence than allow one inefficient move.
That's the strictness of the algorithm. It's not looking for a workaround. It's looking for the shortest path. If the shortest path is blocked, the operation just ceases.
This rigidity comes up again in the section on mismatch.
Mismatch is fatal.
So we talked about checking features, showing your badge. What happens if I show the wrong badge? What if I move a word with accusative case to a spot that checks nominative?
Does the system say, close enough? No.
Does it look for a plan B?
No. The source text is very emphatic about this. Mismatch cancels the derivation. It creates what Chomsky calls an illegitimate object.
Illegitimate object. That sounds ominous.
It means the structure is fundamentally broken, and the text explains that this doesn't just result in a weird sentence. It prevents any alternative derivation from even being considered. The process dies on the spot.
It's binary. It's 0 or 1, match or crash.
It implies that the language faculty is a computational system, not a heuristic one. It's not guessing, it's calculating, and it calculates with zero tolerance for error.
So if we zoom out, we have a system that pulls words from a dictionary. These words have meaning, but they're covered in this grammatical dust case agreement, all this uninterpretable junk.
Right.
The system then runs this frantic game of Tetris, moving pieces around to check and delete the dust. It follows a strict rule of only move the closest thing. And if anything mismatches, or if any dust is left over at the end, the whole thing just fails.
And we do this continually.
Yeah.
Effortlessly. Every time you speak, you are running this attract, check, erase algorithm on every single node of the syntax tree.
It really challenges how we think about communication. We think of it as expression, like painting. But this makes it sound like compiling code.
It is compiling. But this brings us right back to your opening question, the paradox.
The imperfection.
If this system is so minimalist, so economic, so perfect, why do we have uninterpretable features at all? Why does nature force us to generate case just so we can delete it?
Yeah, why not just build the sentence without the junk in the first place?
Does the text offer an answer? Because it really feels like a design flaw.
It offers a hypothesis, and it's a fascinating one. It suggests that this imperfection might be the only reason language is useful at all.
How so?
Well, think about what checking does. It forces things to move. We has to move to the front to check case. The associate has to connect to the verb.
Displacement.
Displacement. If we didn't have these junk features acting as magnets, everything might just stay where it started. We'd have a very static, very boring sequence of words.
So the bureaucracy, it forces the movement.
Exactly. And that movement creates structure. It allows for things like topic, focus, questions, these complex relationships between words that are far apart. The source suggests that imperfection, the existence of uninterpretable features, is what drives the entire displacement property of human language.
That's a beautiful thought. We build complexity out of a need for cleanup.
The hidden logic isn't just about grammar. It's about the biological necessity of structure. We create a mess so that we're forced to clean it up. And the act of cleaning is what creates the sentence.
It's the friction that makes it work.
Exactly. Without the junk, the system might be perfect, but it would be perfectly silent.
Well, next time you say a simple sentence like, we build airplanes, take a moment. Appreciate the sheer computational violence happening in your head to make it possible.
And just be glad your features were interpretable.
Thanks for guiding us through the density of the Minimalist program.
It was a pleasure. And to you, the listener, thanks for deep diving with us. Keep your features checked, watch out for defective intervention, and we'll see you on the next one.